Maple sugaring has been a tradition in New England since it was discovered by Native Americans. The Iroquois legend describes that the accidental discovery of the sugar-making process happened when fluid from a broken maple limb was put in a pot with boiling meat. These Native Americans would collect sap by slashing open trees. The sap was boiled down to sugar in hollowed-out logs with hot stones.
Okay. The first settler to witness this process was Jacques Cartier in 1540. European settlers used a similar process to the Native Americans with their own added techniques. The settlers bored holes into trees and collected sap in buckets.
Colonists in New England no longer relied on foreign imported sugar because they were able to make their own maple sugar. In Vermont's early history, each family would make maple sugar for their own consumption. Later, it would become a true industry.
Today, sugaring is a very different process than in the past. 7% of the world's maple supply is produced in Vermont. Sugaring is completely dependent on the weather. For the season to begin, the temperature must be above freezing during the day and below freezing during the night. This freezing and thawing action triggers the sap to flow in the trees. These conditions usually occur from mid to late February to the end of March. Most producers are finished by the beginning of April.
When sap is first collected, it has about a 2% sugar content. It must then be boiled down to create the syrup with a 66.5% sugar. On average, it takes 86 gallons of sap to make just 1 gallon of syrup. We've come a long way from the slashed trees and sap boiled down in logs. Today, many people still collect with taps and buckets, but a more efficient method is gravity or vacuum-fed tubing systems. Some people prefer the bucket system because it's cheaper and easier to store because the buckets stack together like Tupperware. Unfortunately, this includes drilling new holes in each tree every year and manually collecting all of the buckets.
With tubing, workers only have to put the tubes up in the beginning of the season and not go out again until the end of the season. One drawback to tubing is that it can develop holes over time and it is expensive. Once the sap is collected, there are several different methods of boiling. Some sugarers put their sap through a reverse osmosis unit to remove a substantial amount of water before boiling. If not, then the sap goes straight into an evaporator pan, which can be powered by wood, oil, or natural gas. When using wood, about 43 cords of wood is required per season, while the typical home only uses about 3 cords during the whole winter.